Doork East Magazine Volume 1. Always on the right side of the map. June 2022. Inside the mind of a dork. Welcome to the first volume of the Doork East magazine. It is the fruit of the lively imagination of the community of apes in our district. We, apes of Doork East, have gathered in the most affordable district around a simple idea: to take an active role in the construction of the ecosystem that surrounds us. Without pretension, but not without fun. This magazine is an expression of that spirit, of our passionate desire to communicate our aspiration to see the ape society contribute to a thriving ecosystem that benefits all, in and beyond the ape society. Letter from King to Medici. Author, Upwind Strategy.
Dear Apes of Doork East, I was delighted to receive your letter conveyed to me by Royal Advisor Ansley Levine when he presented your idea of creating a magazine that aims to be a testimony of the precocious development of your district. I feel sure that his stay at the court of Clovelly Gardens will be remembered as a happy and valuable one in strengthening the friendly relations which already exist between the districts. I strongly encourage your initiative, being convinced that documenting our lives and ideas can play a role in the development of the ape society. Thank you for your kind remarks about my forthcoming visit to your district. I look forward with the greatest pleasure to my visit and to meeting the apes of Doork East. Your sincere friend, Edward.
The Story of the Doorks, or How an Invaluable Treasure Was Discovered. Authors, Bradley Drawn and Upwind Strategy. 1. A Gathering of the Doorks. Interior Cottage, Day, a gathering of some dorky apes.
A message hit my mailbox this morning from an anonymous ape, containing a very intriguing question: what makes $1 million JPEG? That's all, nothing else.
How can someone lead you alone with such a deep philosophical question without giving you the answer?
Yeah, that's cruel.
Utterly cruel, indeed. He could also have asked, is reality real, while he was at it.
That's another mystery to me. How can we solve all these philosophical questions without another pint of fermented banana beer?
I just thought of another difficult question. What if we, handsome, charming, inquisitive apes, claimed a district for our own?
What? A land seizure? This is a rhetorical question. Of course we have to do that. Apes, tool up.
Calm your professionally distorted spirits, my dear military officer friend. I was thinking of a peaceful gathering of like-minded apes in a district we would choose.
The whole group of apes cheered at the idea, shouting with excitement and enthusiasm.
Even better. I prefer to keep my sword clean. What do you think of Doork East? Aren't we those who always fly the flag for the ape society, the nerds, the geeks, the dorks?
So they examined the map and liked the idea even more because it looked like the most affordable district, accessible to all apes. The message spread, and the apes soon found there were a lot of them who felt they too were dorks. 2. A spark igniting a fire. Interior Estate in Doork East a few days later, an even bigger gathering.
New apes, thank you for joining us here. What we saw when we first looked at the map was an opportunity. We wanted this to be an inclusive postcode, and so it is. We want that our neighbors feel strongly enough about the ape society to make memes, write articles, and generally climb on the roofs of their cabins and bang their pots and pans as loud and as proud as they can.
And it doesn't end here. It seems that our actions have been picked up on by others. We challenged other communities to gather in any districts they see fit. We already heard that District 19 has become the stronghold for space apes.
Moon boys!
I will clump you with your own pots and pans if you don't stay quiet.
Silence fell, but the smiles remained on their faces.
Have you heard District 35 has been claimed by a group of apes calling themselves Thai?
We don't even begin to know what this means or where it will all go, but we Doorks support it wholeheartedly. Anything that brings apes together for the good of the ape society is okay with us.
Indeed.
One thing we have learned is that when you gather a group of like-minded apes, magical things begin to happen. Friendships are born, creativity forms, and even a glossy magazine appears.
And that's simply how an invaluable treasure of friendship was discovered. Game theory applied to the ape society. An interview with Brent Monet. Author, Upwind Strategy. The following is a discussion with the Royal Advisor Brent Monet, an internationally renowned researcher in the fields of mathematical economics at Birkbeck, University of Doork East. In this interview, he provides some insight into the world of game theory and how it applies to the ape society. Good morning, Professor Monet. Thank you for welcoming us to your lovely cottage on Birkbeck Road. So, let me begin with my first question, and I know that we have many readers from all other districts that are also eager to learn about it. What is game theory?
Game theory studies mathematical models of social interactions, or games. Game theorists analyze the strategic decisions made by apes when they compete or cooperate with others. A key concept in game theory is an equilibrium, a strategy for each ape that is best for them, assuming the strategies of the other players are fixed. Game theorists can ask whether the actual behavior of the apes is accurately described by the equilibrium, and if not, why. In the ape society, the rules leading to the desired equilibrium of optimal collective wealth creation are crafted by the Ape Force One, the founding team. They designed the initial rules of the ape society considering economic and game theory as found in prosperous societies in the history of our ancestor humans, and they can marginally add new incentives to improve the equilibrium outcomes for the whole ape society, and even think beyond in considering what's good for the whole Cardano ecosystem. What is happening in the Doork East district is interesting, because it is the first substantial deviation from their undivided control of the rules, because by creating joint initiatives, the apes can themselves also become a driving force of their own value creation for the whole society. In a sense, it could be seen as the birth of the self-conscience of the apes or the first manifestation of apes taking their destiny into their own hands to go beyond what is expected from them. From a game theory perspective, the apes of Doork East can be considered as forming a cooperative game, or coalitional game, creating a prior non-existing competition between districts. In absence of external enforcement of cooperative behavior, the forging of alliances was a predictable outcome that I foretold in a recent article published in the Ape Journal of Mathematical Economics.
Can you give us a real-life example of game theory in action?
The real estate market is a real-life example of a game. If you are bidding on a cabin, how much should you bid? Certainly, you should bid less than the most you would be willing to pay, but the lower your bid, the smaller your probability of winning. If you are selling your cabin, would you be better off using an open auction, used by all current NFT marketplaces, or should you follow another practice of asking people to submit sealed bids? Game theory helps us to understand why apes do what they do, and whether they could do better.
What are you currently researching in the field?
Take cabins for example. They have been allocated randomly for white-listed apes first, then from those that have not already been claimed, a public sale randomly distributed the cabins. In the whitelist round, nobles received with 100% probability a chateau. We can therefore say the apes could trade probabilities of receiving a chateau in advance by buying a noble. But has the price of nobles changed before and after the chateau drop? We haven't seen any loss of value of nobles on the market, on the contrary, so, can we infer that the market didn't price in nobles the value of chateaus? Could that be the sign of a market inefficiency? Personally, I don't think so. I think that this event made the market more aware of the potential unsuspected future value that nobles will have. I can corroborate my conclusions through my observations of the kings which led me to the same conclusions. The Ape Society provides many data points for our research, and Doork East will be an important area to watch. I don't exclude a situation with multiple equilibria, as we still must determine which outcomes all ape stakeholders will seek and favor. What we can observe so far is that Doorks seem to focus on seemingly economically unprofitable subjects, such as philosophy, art, and literature, which could seem superfluous at first sight, but personally it is a feature that made me want to move to this neighborhood, as the conversations I can have with my neighbors broaden my perspective on life and allow me to discover new intellectual horizons. Of course, having said that, I still spend time in all the other districts. All apes are interesting. The complexity of interactions that can be observed in the whole ape society could well open a whole new field of modern applied mathematics.
How would you describe what is happening in Doork East?
Cooperative game theory provides a high-level approach to describe the different structures, strategies, and payoffs of coalitions. It remains to be seen if other coalitions will form, and which approach they will take. Once we see other groups forming, or maybe nothing happens and all apes just gather in District 11 by some sort of first-mover network effect traction. But the finite number of cabins in the district could compel the formation of other groups to choose another more affordable district to join a newly formed movement. We could also see Doorks officially expand and take over new territories. We can already observe non-ape NFT holders gathering in some other districts. The game theory mechanics and incentives for other communities to join the movement as soon as possible seems to be obvious. But I'll leave that topic for another time. The permeability between the apes and districts will make coordination inside of the groups more complicated, as it will be difficult to forge hidden strategies that would remain secret for very long. Each group could get infiltrated by other apes, for example. In many instances, insufficient information will probably be available to accurately model the formal procedures available to the apes during all strategic stages of the evolution of the ape society. I am certainly very interested in following these developments. Perhaps what is now a society will become a civilization in the future. It is too early to say, but some of my calculations seem to show that we could attribute a non-zero probability to this scenario. Doork East is particularly interesting for me as a researcher because it may well be at the forefront of a push towards the first significant breakthrough in ape evolution.
Do you think all apes should consider Doork East?
Intuitively, a cooperative game creates an opportunity cost for a coalition of not joining another coalition. But in the case of mutually non-exclusive coalitions, the analytical framework suggests that there might be more instances of winning outcomes for all parties. In other words, if the Doork East district is very successful, it could also help all other districts to get more visibility. Considering the theoretical concepts of efficiency, payoff splitting vector, uniqueness and marginality, I predict that we might have a situation of, at first, a payoff only weakly greater for Doork East than the rest of the Ape Society districts. But in the long run, the additivity of effort allocations by other districts could create synergies and marginally higher payoff for the active districts, which could result in a non-zero-sum collective gain, but only if the advantage in the favor of active districts persists. It remains to be seen what forms this advantage could take. Only the future can tell. The creativity of apes is legendary. From an evolutionary point of view, it seems to be derived from an increased capacity for random thought. But owning a cabin here, and hence, maybe being a little bit biased, I would strongly advise that you do your own research about it, explore the streets, and discuss with some our apes here to make your own opinion.
Professor Monet, you can rest reassured that our readers love research too. Thank you for your thoughts on this subject. You gave us some interesting food for thought. I'm sure many apes in Doork East and beyond will meditate on this. Doork East. A Geographical Profile. Author, Toggen. The Ape Society map is split into 35 distinct districts. Each district is assigned a number, where District 1 is in the far northwest corner and District 35 is located far southeast. Apart from having just a number, each district is also known by a common name. In this geography profile we will have a closer look at District 11, Doork East. Located in the northeast part of the Ape Society, Doork East is surrounded by 4 districts. To the north Brotah, to the northwest Burund, to the west Jictus and to the south Fragate East. It is also worth noting that it is bordering a big blue wall to the east. No ape, yet, has been able to penetrate the wall. We have no further knowledge on what lies beyond. Doork East is ranked as the 8th largest in terms of cabins per district. The total amount is 304 land plots divided between 19 chateaux, 50 estates and 235 cottages. The map ranking of these houses according to postcodes goes from Q to Z. The highest ranked chateaux are Q, the highest ranked estates are U and the highest ranked cottages are ranked V. There are 24 streets throughout Doork East. The longest 3 streets in the north are Kingswood Road, Martin Lane and Mornington Road. Just south of these streets someone has placed huge walls, and scribbled 2 question marks all around them. Residents from Mason Court down to Victoria Grove are not happy about it and have tried to remove it without success. Everything from hurling rocks at it to trying to blow it up with dynamite has yielded 0 results. Apes have also tried to build scaffolds to get over the wall, but it seems to go on forever upwards. Nothing more is known at this time. Owing to the 2 question marks, Holly Hill Avenue, Melendez Way and Victoria Grove are the shortest streets in the district. South of this we have what is known as the Rectangle of Doork. 17th Street with the same length. Due to the remote location of Doork East it is seen as a rural area. The south part of the district is generally focused on agriculture, and it is the main part of the economy. Tobacco and grains used in alcohol production are popular and highly sought after in other regions. The far south, Cahuenga Boulevard and Manor Lane, is known for producing more exotic crops such as psilocybes and other vegetation used for medical purposes. The central area of Doork East going from Birkbeck Road to Holly Hill Avenue is where the main commerce in the region takes place. Victoria Grove is considered the main street of the district and has the mayor's office as well as a plethora of official buildings such as police, hospital, fire station and dentist office. South of Victoria Grove and down to South Sam Street you'll find the nightlife and dining area. Due to the amount of produce from the agricultural scene, Doork East is known for its fine cuisine. Barbecue being one of the specialties of the area. Due north in the Central District, Melendez Way and Holly Hill Avenue is home to many smiths and workshops where craftsmen as well as merchants from the area display and sell a wide variety of goods. The northern part of the district is considered the roughest. Part of the reason for this is the never-ending dispute with Brotah in the north. Nobody knows what started it, but it has been a tradition for many years that whatever problem occurs it must be the other side of the border that started it. This way, retaliations are common from both sides. The commerce in the north is part agriculture and part based on trades with the 3 districts bordering the north. Bootlegging and moonshining are also known to be popular activities with the locals. Borders and trades are generally peaceful and prosperous between the neighbors. The main border with Jictus see many apes going back and forth to work. Trade is going well, and each district benefits from each other. The border with Fragate East is a busy one. Produce is being exported from Doork East south, and in return oils and precious metals are being imported back. The short border with Burund sees little activity, but there are considerable bottles of Doork dry whiskey going across the border as the Burons can't seem to get enough of it. Brota border also sees a massive number of trades, although the risks of being whacked in the head by an ape is considerable when going across the border. There was one initiative by the Doorks many years ago to completely close the border. A block was dug down at each end of Kingswood Road. All the craftsmen in the area were assigned tasks to forge several links. But due to bad coordination by the military officers in charge, all the links were non-fungible. This resulted in the chain link to the blocks would constantly break. The project was abandoned and now only the 2 blocks remain in Kingswood Road. We hope you have learned a few things about Doork East in this geographical overview. There are many more details, but they need to be reserved for another edition. The Crest of Doork East. Authors, Toggen and Upwind Strategy. Doork East can boast with highly preserved and living traditions which have been perpetuated by generations of apes to the present day. Its high quality of life, immense cultural diversity, and beautiful natural landscapes make it an extremely appealing destination for all apes. This attractivity has played a major role in creating the history and cultural diversity of Doork East. Culture. First and foremost, this district is the perfect choice for the lovers of all kinds of arts. The cultural heritage of Doork East is assembled by many renowned collector residents, of which the Doork East apes are rightly proud. Noble apes of many other districts chose Doork East as their primary or secondary residency, very often coming with their art. Excellence of craftsmanship. Doork East's culture is also famous for the crafts, mainly clockmaking. The industry of Doork East clocks gained a respectable reputation through the ages. The Doork East Clock Museum shows a vast collection of beautiful timepieces. Although there might be noise coming from the ticking of these clocks, this museum is a relaxing place to visit. Privacy. Timekeeping is not the only flourishing industry in Doork East. In a world of open data and blockchains, the need for more privacy has seen the emergence of new cooperative solutions that have helped all classes of apes facilitate their communications in a secure way. Tailor-made services. Apes have been at the forefront of looking beyond traditional financial products. They are looking for skills going far beyond knowledge linked to a local market. Doorks have historically specialized in discretionary services as a core part of their DNA. Craftsmen would often come to find very well-paid jobs in the crafting business. Artists would come to Doork East to find an art patron or enjoy the inspiration of beautiful nature in the cabin offered rent-free by a noble. Explorers would come to synchronize their maps and plan new expeditions together. Merchants could come to make their largest over-the-counter trades. Military officers prepared their biggest coups with their kings in the beautifully decorated interiors of their cabin in Doork East. Royal advisors could find the best place for their appointments with their kings and synchronize their accounting parchments at the local branch of the Doork East Bank. They could also secretly meet other royal advisors in all secrecy. Nobles could find in Doork East land and protection for their preferred artists, a way for them to influence the art and secure the supply from their favorite artists. Doork East being a strong financial center, they would also use it as the best place to provide funding and supplies to the kings or other visiting notoriety. The kings would keep their most valuable items in the vaults of Doork East, whose walls are considered the most impenetrable in the world. Heritage of the Crest. The Crest of Doork East is an expression of the power and prestige of the district and reflects the success of the entire ape society. The keys are a symbol of knowledge and of guardianship deeply rooted in the culture of Doork East. The 2 keys crossed in Salter are the emblem of an ancient halo ape who is believed to hold the keys to the gates of heaven, and this emblem shows how important it is for Doorks to aim for peace and prosperity among all apes, as symbolized by the figure of the ape above the keys. In ancient times, it was believed that the flesh of the peacock would not decay. It was therefore used as a symbol of resurrection and immortality. The two peacocks on the crest counterbalance the effect of timekeeping by keeping in mind the immortal nature of the ape society. The peacocks are the symbol of the Doorks who are searching for meaning, for philosophical and artistic enlightenment. They seek a life lived to the fullest. They seek to leave a legacy for future generations. The crest is also guarded by a pair of spears, which marks the district's devotion to honor and chivalry. The spearheads represent the dexterity and nimbleness of wit, and the culture of Doork East apes to penetrate and understand matters of the highest consequence. The banners on the spears reference to the early conquest of Doork East by a small army of valiant military officers. They were the first to believe the importance of having a neutral land of peace. Above the ape is a crown symbolizing the important historical link between Doork East and all the kings, of which King de Medici, which awarded special rights to Doork East to operate in the businesses of timekeeping and safekeeping. The feathers in the crown signify the serenity of mind that kings and all society enjoys in Doork East. But don't be fooled, their peace of mind does not prevent them from being boisterous. While the district center near the landmark is well kept and a place of refined living and commerce, the outskirts of the district are known for their unpredictability. The apes residing here are still proud of their history and customs but are known for embracing their true ape nature of rowdiness and shenanigans. At the bottom of the crest is an inscription engraved with the motto of Doork East. Always on the right side of the map. This motto humorously illustrates how committed the Doorks are to building stable relationships and alliances with their neighbors for the common good of the ape society. The Doork East Badge. To honor all apes who reside within the borders of Doork East, King Monet proposed that a badge was to be issued to each ape living in Doork East. The measure was unanimously adopted. The king's office remains in charge of issuing and revoking the badges. They may have only an honorary value, but they are very useful when it comes to recognizing a fellow Doork in a large crowd. The silver plate, to be pinned to the right side of the chest, means not only belonging to the same family, but also an identification with the distinguished values of Doork East. The badge is commonly worn in all formal settings and has already become an integral part of local customs, as it can also be found on many objects crafted in the district and sold exclusively in local shops. Thorpe's Thoughts. Inside the Mind of Thorpe Brown. Author, Thorpe Brown. You wake up one day in your cabin and everything looks the same, yet it feels different. You wonder, how did we end up sleeping in beds? Why do we use the tools we use to eat? Why do we interact with others the way we do? What is work and what purpose does it serve me? All this suddenly reveals that there is a deeper question to be answered: why is my reality the way it is? You are waking up to the constructed nature of your reality. Your reality is a construction. This reflection can make our worlds crumble and lose meaning. Waking up from the illusion is not always easy. What is reality? What is all this we call the experience of life about? The world around us, our perceptions of it, our likes and wants, or communities and societies, are all constructions, aren't they? What are we putting ourselves through and what are we living for? These questions are also incredibly liberating though, and can transform our minds. Our realities are ours to create. Where there is chaos, there's also opportunity. As Nietzsche said, one must still have chaos in oneself to be able to give birth to a dancing star. If our realities are constructions, that means that we can and reconstruct them. We have a say in what gives meaning and value to our experience of life. And when we have meaning, when we have a why. Nietzsche's wisdom has also something to say: who has a why to live for can bear almost any how. When you own and construct your reality, you move forward towards the meaningful life. Now, we can see our lives as our canvases, imagination as our painting, and experimentation as our technique. Military officers in Doork East. Author, Toggen. We sent out one of our junior ape journalists to get a better understanding of how our beloved Doork East military officers spends their day. Here is an extract from an interview with renowned officer Brinley Baldwin. The clouds had just lifted, and the sun was finally able to give some much-needed warmth after a stormy night. As I walked along Jericho Way, trying to avoid the wet puddles of rain from the night before, I peered across the myriad of cabins and found my way over to Benton Street. I had an appointment with renowned ape, Brinley Baldwin, at 9 a.m. precisely. Of course, I wanted to be on time, so I was trying to navigate the streets as fast as possible. Further down Benton Street I would soon glimpse what looked like a pile of chairs stacked up outside a modest cabin. Suddenly the chairs tipped violently over, and I could hear some clever profanity being uttered by a tall-looking majestic ape that was now lying flat on his back. I quickly ran over. "Are you okay, sir?" Yes, young ape. It's the bloody logistics, you know. What am I supposed to do with all these chairs? I tell you, the craftsmen in this area are bloody stupid. Instead of making billiard tables and gramophones, they only make chairs. I swear, they only do it because the Browns started, and now they all are aping after them. These apes have no talent. What a mess. Anyway, my name is Brinley Baldwin and you are late. It's 9:04 a.m. young ape. Baldwin looked at me with a big grin revealing his signature golden teeth. I immediately was taken a bit back by his demeanor but regained myself when he presented his hand. "I am very sorry," I said as I shook his hand back. "No worry, young ape. I was having trouble with these blasted chairs from last night's raiding anyway. You see, we are now forced to stack them outside as the cabin is filled to the ceiling with chairs from raids last week. It's all very frustrating, you know. The transport from Blab and Canmard City is stuck in the mud and we are stuck with the chairs. I tell you, if they are not coming soon, we probably will have to make some kind of burning mechanism to get rid of them. More chairs are being looted every night. Wouldn't it make sense to stop the looting of chairs for a while then?" Ha ha ha. Brinley almost choked on his gold teeth as he burst out in laughter. "Young ape, don't be foolish. We are military officers, it's our job to keep the crime going in this place. By royal decree from Edward de Medici himself we are obliged to loot 10% of all the items manufactured by the craftsmen. In return we make sure that no one else is allowed to steal." "I see. And what happens if someone else tries it?" "Have you heard of the Johnson family, young ape?" "Johnson family? No sir, I can't say that it rings a bell." There's your answer right there. No one has heard of the Johnson family because the military officers took care of business. I mean, if everybody could just go about stealing bubblegum and mailboxes, where would that leave us? I'll tell you, young ape, we would have chaos. That's what would happen. As it is now, all apes are happy. The craftsmen will know that 10% of their wares will be looted and they have a receipt to prove it. If we let anyone loot, who knows how much they would take, maybe 20%, maybe even 50%. I dread to think of it. Now we have predictability and order. And you have us military officers to thank for it. Now that is quite impressive, I must say. Changing subjects, why did you move to Doork East, and what makes this place good to live?" By now it seemed Brinley was a bit more relaxed. He pulled up one of the many chairs and casually slumped down as he took off his spinner hat. Young ape, Doork East is the place to be. All apes here are like family. It's clean, the air is fresh, the streets are free of donkey droppings and almost no cabin is empty. You see, it seems all the most devoted and clever apes are moving to Doork East. We also have a great working relationship with the other officers here. I cover all the looting from Manor Lane to Jericho Way, Ralph Wright covers the turf up to Wright Buildings, and Geronimo Wright is in charge all the way up to Kingswood Road. You can often see Ralph and Geronimo patrol the streets smoking their pipes. I can't smoke pipe as it makes my gold teeth go gray. It sounds like you like Doork East very much, But there must be some negatives about this place as well. You know, no place is perfect. Lately it seems the cabin prices are going up very fast. I tell you, if it continues like this, normal apes will no longer be able to afford a place to live here. That's a real shame. I think it would be wise to move here fast, or they could be stuck in Gokon City or Fort Kraris or somewhere else with too many loud apes. Brinley sighs and leans back in his chair. There is another problem, you know. This gang of green apes have been roaming the streets. I am sure they are up to no good, as they broke out of prison in Yokult. They are known as the Gruesome Greens. There are 4 of them, and I know they are hiding out in a cabin somewhere in Doork East. So far, they have not stolen anything, but the military officers from other districts are making faces at us for not being able to find them. It needs to stop. We are on high alert, young ape. After the last question, Brinley was jumping from his chair, making all kinds of ape noises, and without warning proceeded to climb up on the cabin roof and stuck his head down the chimney. At this point I figured that it would be difficult to get anything more productive out of him. Seeing that the interview most likely had ended, I strolled away happily and enjoyed the now sunny view of cabins and estates on Benton Street. Praised be the military officers of Doork East for making the streets safe. Doork East Real Estate Update. Author, Toggen. Osman Baldwin, military officer and part-time real estate broker, will cover the latest news on markets in Doork East. Mr. Baldwin is known for his aggressive sales techniques and business acumen and has thrived in the industry for years. As the go-to guy for all news related to sales and markets, we needed to sit down to understand more of where this exciting business is headed. Mr. Baldwin, first of all, it would be good to know why you chose to become a real estate broker. As a military officer, surely, you have enough on your plate and can make a decent living?
Yes, the life of a military officer is good, but you need to see opportunities when they present themselves. Think of it this way: the military officers oversee law and order in the district. Real estate brokers have always had a shady reputation and are generally not to be trusted. So, the obvious answer was to travel to all the licensed brokers in the district and warn them of the dangers of spontaneous combustion. That sort of thing does wonders for their motivation.
So, you basically told all the brokers that you would light them on fire if they did not stop? That sounds horrible.
Look, I did no such thing. I just told them that apes have the potential to become overheated and catch fire. If anything, I did them a favor as a fellow ape and informed them of the importance of regular cool downs. It's not my fault that they suddenly stopped brokering homes. Anyway, at that point someone needed to step up and take their place, so who better than the good old, trusted, military officers?
I see, but you're the only military officer who is brokering cabins. Why are there not more officers doing the same?
Well, after all the brokers suddenly quit, I suggested to the mayor that he should issue broker licenses to all the military officers in Doork East. He thought that was a great idea and issued the licenses the same day. He left me in charge of the distribution. It was very unfortunate that all of them except mine were eaten by goats before they got handed out. That is why it now falls to me to manage this market, but I would wager that I'm the best qualified ape anyway. Just look at how we are doing.
Speaking of that, how is the Doork East real estate market, and where do you see it heading?
Ha ha ha, business is booming. It has never been this easy to move people here. I mean, Doork East is a great place to live, but you sometimes need to give apes some extra enticements to come over.
What do you mean? Like advertisement posters in other districts, discounts on cabins and such?
By the gods, no. Don't be silly, those sorts of things don't work. You need real reasons to move. For instance, it was a huge shame about the termite infestation in Fragate East. Several apes moved across the border shortly after, and now all the area from Manor Lane to Canmart City Avenue is almost completely sold out. We are thinking of doing similar campaigns in Jictus and Brotaw to get even more apes over.
There still seems to be quite a lot of land plots for sale near the Brotaw border, though. Why do you think that is?
Those bastards from Brodaw keep sending over their donkeys and horses in the night to defecate in the main well at Kingswood Road, but we have a plan to get them back. Soon the residents of South Brokaw will find an anonymous letter in their mailbox where it says, "Dear Ape, please move to Doork East." It will also have a skull and crossbones on the envelope. Let's see where that takes us.
Any other tricks you have up your sleeve to close the deals on potential sales?
Always bring the contract with you when you show apes a cabin. Say that the common showing brings 3 apes. I then put the contact in the middle of the room. Once the apes are inside, I like to block the exit, draw my sword, and yell,
Who is buying this cabin?
Usually one of the apes will sign immediately.
You are threatening to murder them if they don't buy?
No. That's just salesmanship. I just asked them who will buy it. It's not my fault if they perceive the situation differently. Usually, they are even motivated to pay 5% more than the ask price. It's win-win situation for all.
By the sound of it, it seems you have it all under control. Is there anything that worries you about the housing market in Doork East?
The only problem is that we will soon run out of properties. You know, there are now only 13 properties for sale in all Doork East, and we are the most popular district around. If we continue to be this successful, we might run out of properties to sell. People better be smart and buy if they want to live here. They can rely on top service by Osmond Baldwin. I never had a complaint after a sale.
And there you have it. This month's real estate update from Osmond Baldwin. We will try to get more of Mr. Baldwin's views in the next edition of Doork East magazine. Public announcements. Author, Toggen.
Half price off cigars. Some joker mixed a batch of regular cigars with exploding cigars. Most likely, 1 out of 3 will explode when lit, but we can't figure out which ones. Great price if you don't mind a bang. Visit us at Ape's Finest at Warwick Road for explosive prices.
Be careful when driving at Regent Place. Rumors have it that some unknown ape has buried his diamond grills there. More than 20 apes have been seen digging random holes in the middle of the street. Local military officers have been quoted. This is an outrage. The mayor needs to stop this madness. We tried to get a comment from the mayor's office, but unfortunately the mayor had already left the office carrying a shovel.
Flying donkeys have been observed near Martin Lane 2 days in a row. One ape was surprised no one had reported it missing, since this probably was a super rare trait. On closer inspection nearby, several empty bottles of absinthe were found.
Plea from the Doork East gravedigger: please stop selling pipe tobacco to the local zombie apes. They can't stomach the stuff and use the graveyard as an outhouse every night. I'm tired of cleaning up their mess.
Calling all available craftsmen in Doork East. Lightning struck at the Robot Apes annual Morris Dancing Fair at Victoria Grove this weekend. Unfortunately, all the robot apes were holding the flagpole at the time of the incident, and they are now all short-circuited. The organizer commented, "We only charged 3 society for entry, and now the robot apes are just crawling around shouting for refunds and free bananas. I really hope some craftsmen can help us out fast, or we'll go bankrupt within days."
Expect delays when traveling from Manor Lane due south to Fragate East. The Fragates have sold sombreros and harmonicas for half price all week. Congestion on both sides of the border remains quite heavy. Some apes have attempted to build a giant slingshot for hurling apes across the border though. If you are in a hurry, you might consider this option. Do so at your own risk.
Doork East resident explorer Damas de Balboa has been seen standing on a pile of boxes on the square at Sutherland Place for a couple of days shouting to all apes passing by. "We need clarity on what lies east of East Doork," he has uttered. "When I try to explore areas to the east, I just bump into an invisible blue wall. This does not make any sense. Someone in charge needs to give us an explanation. How will we explorers make a living if we keep bumping into things?"
Taylor Avenue Artist Association is looking to buy a reasonably priced pipe organ, preferably studded with steel plates. After we changed our rehearsal times from 8 p.m. till 2 a.m., our old organ inexplicably had bullet holes and bite marks in it when we came back the next day, and is now out of commission.
Announcement from Walnut Street Welfare Committee: whoever is putting marbles in pies cooling off in the windows. Stop it at once, it's not funny. This is the third time it has happened in a week. We are soon forced to call the military officers for help. 2 apes have already needed gold tooth replacement and another ape swallowed 10 of them. The poor thing is still sitting in the outhouse, as only 8 have come out again.
Ape review of the Banana Leaf Restaurant on Brown Avenue, Doork East. Author, Tranter Roberts.
I would like to impress upon any fellow hungry ape considering refreshment here that it mixes food fit for a noble with traditional homemade cooking. That it somehow manages to achieve the impossible and craft mouth-watering dishes from the tiny ramshackle kitchen. That the service reaches levels of strategic planning and execution only the military officers would recognize. That it is the quintessential, latest, must-see addition to Doork East's proud collection of fine dining. I would like to do that, but I can't. I don't know whether it was the broken, stained ceiling tiles, the tired, tiny wooden tables, the dirty walls, or the rickety chairs and wobbly staircase. Maybe it was the shocking levels of service. Quite frankly, we were treated like animals. We waited for well over an hour for our drinks whilst the bar staff monkeyed around. When the food arrived, they had mixed up our odor, which went to some nervous-looking merchants sat near the window. Our complaints fell on deaf ears. We made good our escape and paid someone to let us out of the front door. We can only hope that those we left behind later managed to find safe passage out, possibly when the guards' backs were turned by means of some distraction. The cheapest possible food at the highest possible prices. Avoid, avoid, avoid.
Nefarious alien activity in District 11. Author, Toggen. Several residents at Melendez Way and Mason Court have reported strange lights and sounds coming from the secluded properties of Holly Hill Avenue for several weeks now. After the sun is set, flashes of light and eerie sounds seem to emanate from random spots all around the area. Apes are increasingly becoming scared of venturing outside during nighttime, and even dogs and cats seem reluctant to approach. What is going on? Are the aliens behind this, or is the water supply yet again being messed with by the Brota apes? We have decided to get to the bottom of this and send out 2 reporters to investigate. The banana stands were being moved from the curb back into the stores, and the local military officers were loading the day's last looted chair on the back of their wagons. As the sun was setting on Melendez Way, we were on our way to investigate the strange occurrences taking place in the area. As the lights went out in most shops, we noticed that one vendor was still standing in the street and his stall seemed to be open for business. We approached the vendor and introduced ourselves and our task. "Marlo Amato here," the ape said as he straightened his spectacles. "You know, all the apes in this district are craven jellyfish. A little bit of noise and some lights on the sky and they all run to hide in their cottages. It's bad for business, I tell you. Just look at the state of things. The only apes that come out after dark to acquire wares these days are the ones that are desperately out of whiskey. If this doesn't end soon, I am forced to close early as well." The merchant ape looked agitated but did not seem particularly afraid of the aliens. "Are you not afraid that the aliens will come out and beam you up or steal your organs and such?" "Nonsense. I know who is doing it, you know. It's that brown ape over in the chateau on Holly Hill. He used to come around here to shop in my store. As you can see from the storefront, I sell all accessories. Now he thought that meant I have everything. Came asking for antimatter cork splitters and element 115 euro stabilizers. I am a simple ape selling simple things, so I told him to sod off. Haven't seen him since. Tell you what, why don't you go up and talk to him? Maybe you can get him to stop whatever it is he is doing. The chateau was located some way away from the other cabins. As we approached, it was clear that the reports of strange lights were true. The entirety of the building was glowing and pulsing in a kaleidoscope of different colors. Mustering further courage, we continued to the front gate and knocked hard on the door. To our surprise, this triggered a rather large explosion somewhere in the house and instantly eradicated the surrounding lights. Footsteps came next, and the door was torn open. What do you want? An obviously irate alien ape stood in front of us. Don't you know that knocking on a copper plate during electric strain testing of neutron vibrators will cause a collapse of the magnetic balance of the electrons? I mean, that is obvious, isn't it? We are very sorry for that, we didn't know. Look, we were just coming here to ask you a few questions. The local residents are scared by all the commotion up here. What do you have to say, sir? Well, they have nothing to be afraid of, quite the contrary. I am just experimenting on a new and more efficient way to make soup. This will surely benefit all the apes in the neighborhood, won't you agree? Soup made in half the time with twice the taste, what's not to like? With respect, sir, that doesn't sound very plausible. We were just visiting with merchant Marlo Amato, and he claimed that you asked about element 115 euro stabilizers. Surely, whatever that is, it can be needed for soup making? Ah, you don't understand. You see, it has been discovered by the Alien Council that Doork East has a superconductive layer of dirt just beneath the topsoil. It is quite arcane knowledge, but it has to do with soup. I just need a little more time. I'll tell you what. If you come back here in 4 weeks' time, I'll give you the soup recipe. You can also tell the residents to stop hiding in the night, nothing secret is going on here. I now bid you farewell. After this, the alien shut the door and we were left outside with more questions than answers. Clearly this alien was hiding things, but what could it be? In any case, it seems we'll revisit Holly Hill in 4 weeks for an epic soup recipe. Maybe we will learn more of what they are really planning. What is it like to live in Doork East compared to the central districts in the Ape Society? Author, Toggen. Doork East magazine recently took to Twitter to find out what apes from central districts fancied, the busier urban life or the tranquil and easygoing life of the rural areas. Naturally, it took some preparations prior to releasing this poll. We are proud to say that we sent our resident military officer and real estate broker Osmond Baldwin on an all-expenses-paid 3-day vacation to each of the central districts just prior to the poll: Gokhan City, Tassima City, and Canmard City. All available military officers of Doork East were also sent to the border of Brotaw with extra ammunition a few days before the voting started. The merchants of the districts were also ordered to give out free samples of beer and cigars for 2 whole days prior to voting. Some might say it was somewhat unfortunate that a series of incidents plagued our biggest cities just before the voting could start. It seems someone had filled the central sewage junction of Gokhan City with concrete, making all the main streets overflow with foul-smelling garbage water. Meanwhile, in Tassima City, someone had mixed tranquilizers in the feedstock of all the horses and donkeys in town. They were all extra sluggish for days and caused terrible havoc in traffic. Even worse offenses were seen in Canmard City, where a group of goons had stolen the entire supply of bananas. The residents were unable to source as much as a peel for days, causing several cases of acute abstinence and anxiety. In Doork East, the entire population seemed to have an unusually merry time for days leading up to the poll. Singing, drinking, cheering and general glee were heard across the district from Manor Lane to Kingswood Road. Not one Brotow resident was seen in the area, and somehow the worst garbage problem had even been swept over the northern border. When all the votes of the poll were counted, it was surprising to see that an overwhelming majority seemed to prefer living in Doork East as compared to any of the big cities. A whopping 68% of the votes favored Doork East. We knew that our dear District 11 was a beautiful, calm and wonderful place to reside, but we had no idea that even the sophisticated apes of our top cities would agree with our assessment. On a totally unrelated note, Osmond Baldwin returned to Doork East 2 days after the poll. To the surprise of the Doork East magazine editors, he was bringing along with him 15 donkey carts full of bananas. He said he found them abandoned on the roadside and figured he would bring them back for the Doorkians to feast on. For his generous contribution to the community, Mr. Baldwin was awarded a medal from the mayor's office Upstanding Ape of Doork East. The Who's Who of Doork East. Tranter Roberts. Craftsman. 112, Brown Avenue. Tranter is always the first to volunteer and will have a go at anything. By his own admission, he's not very good at most things, but will always get top marks for effort. There's never a time he's not fixing something or tearing something else apart. His cabin is piled high with items awaiting repair. He loves jazz and plays the saxophone in his spare time, which sadly is in short supply. Gabriel Baldwin. Military officer. 123, Melendez Way. Guardian of the fringes of the Ape Society in the East. Protector of freedom while enjoying the sounds of classic jazz. Fairfax Cox. Artist. 48, Victoria Grove. When he turned 18, he gave himself a present that would stay with him for the rest of his life. The present was golden teeth that he dreamed of ever since he was young. Over time he climbed the ladder in the gang and managed to abandon criminal life with substantial wealth. He decided to move from New York to England in order to avoid his past hunting him back. Now he enjoys afternoon cup of tea in the presence of other members of All England Club. Damas de Balboa. Explorer. 37, Victoria Grove. Damas loves to shine. An explorer by class, but ultimately he's an attention seeker. He's a blagger and believes his armor raises his class higher than it actually is. He'll chance his luck and can frequently be found trying to pass himself off as a royal advisor, military officer, and even a noble. He will never be seen without his earpods and is currently the Doork East District poppin' and clanking dance champion. Crepin Monet. Royal Advisor. 81, Warwick Road. A highly successful and influential member of the Monet family. Prefers to live a secluded life in his humble cottage in Doork East, away from the fast-paced life of the city center. Brandon Baldwin. Military officer. 104, Melendez Way. High Sheriff of the Doork East Forest swore an oath to the king to capture all outlaw apes who poach deer on his land or threaten the safety of trade routes within the shire. Bentley Baldwin. Military officer. 71, Mason Court. Retired military officer, suffering from a severe case of PTSD after the war. But actually still missing it, Bentley now fights any wars together with his brother-in-arms, Linwood Ventucci, against the unknown, the mysteries against the government, against the mysterious ape with no name. Known as others by the name Moriarty. Bronson Green. Craftsman. 110, King Avenue. Bronson began writing at an early age and developed a love of science fiction shortly thereafter. dedicating his life to become a master craftsman and adding the Great Green name. Still working as a craftsman, Bronson is also working on his first sci-fi novel, following a lifetime pursuit and loving every second of it. Bonaventure Cataldi. Merchant, 125, Walnut Street. A street-smart merchant knowing how to maneuver through all the layers within the society, lives in Doork East to remember where he came from. Sometimes he goes ghetto on apes who push his triggers. His interests are pretty diverse, often he surprises other apes with his remarks. Alfonso Levine. Royal Advisor. 9, Skyview Avenue. Wiseman of Doork East. Age unknown, Alfonso the Wise has seen the rise and fall of countless kings and empires. Raleigh White. Craftsman. 29, Kingswood Road. Slow life ape with his favorite cannabis cigar. He loves to sing and enjoy his family. His real job is a computer programmer and he loves crafting on the free time. Sanford Ford. Artist. 96, Warwick Road. The year was 1857, 1932, 2003, and 2092. The date was July 58th, the day his grandfather, mother, nephew and weird future cyborg uncle all entered a time machine and ended up at the same Walmart, in the ham and bean aisle. They all looked at each other for exactly 13-minute utes and then decided to all fuse together to form the abomination you know today as Sanford Ford. Now he mostly just sit on the toilet and let the robot children roll around on the ground. Thorpe Brown. Craftsman. 69, Taylor Avenue. Once upon a time, while performing his craftsman duties, he had a revelation: nothing has meaning in itself, or does it? He woke up from the illusion. What is reality? What is all about? He wondered. So he decided to withdraw from his everyday life to a remote cabin. He turned into philosophy and now reflects daily on his journey of deconstructing and reconstructing reality, perception and illusion, meaning and value, and more broadly, life. Antonio Ventucci. Merchant. 41, Mason Court. He's the quiet type. Or is he? Only his close friends in Doork East know for sure. All others should probably tread lightly. He keeps his friends close and the de Medicis keep him even closer. Rudyard Levine. Royal Advisor. 8, Manor Lane. A scrap of paper preserved in his pocket says, "To my beloved Rudyard Emerson Levine." This is all he has known since waking up and escaping from his earthly tomb. Then there are the vivid dreams. Are they memories? Floorman Brown. Craftsman. 110, Holly Hill Avenue. Floorman Brown lives a secluded life in his chateau. Nobody really knows what goes on behind the closed doors. Floorman can sometimes be seen in the merchant district looking for rare metals, but he rarely engages with the other apes. Speculations is that he is planning to make some sort of doomsday device to obtain dominion over all the apes in the ape society, but Floorman himself is adamant that is only researching powerful soup recipes. Theo Edwards. Craftsman. 96, Martin Lane. Theo Edwards' charmed life as a local physician abruptly changed the moment he fell into the lake, the precise instant an alien freeze ray misfired on the planet and instantly froze all bodies of water. Theo was deeply submerged at that moment and was effectively cryopreserved. Theo, mentally damaged from hundreds of years in cryopreservation, emerged to a world of methane gas and high CO2 levels. Theo's charmed life is now a simple life, and he is a simple ape. Raven Walker. Craftsman. 117, Sutherland Place. Raven Walker, a down-to-earth and humble ape who lives his life frugally yet meaningfully. A simple life is what he aspires to. His favorite quote, "My banker bowler hat helps me to calmly think." Oh, and the wheat? Just out of sheer boredom. Marlowe Wilson. Craftsman. 112, Brown Avenue. Marlowe is a very private individual. What he gets up to is his business and nobody else's. Wilfred Thomas. Craftsman. 123 Melendez Way. Doork East is where a craftsman king goes to relax and take it easy. It's the Camp David of the Thomas clan. Crepin Wright. Military officer. 37 Wright buildings. Just an old war veteran who wanted to spend his last years peacefully smoking some high-quality cigars and whiskey in the Doork East chateau he invested with his war savings. Be careful if you come too close of his house without invitation. Snowden White. Craftsman. 108 Kingswood Road. Knows a thing or two about the dread pirate Robert's Silk Road. Miller de Medici. Noble. 10 Laurel Road. A fine wine connoisseur, his favorite pastime is to explore new territories to plant his vineyards. He has developed an advanced system of artificial intelligence that probes the soil for ideal conditions. He receives automatic reports on the left lens of his VR headset. His right lens remains permanently connected to the multiple Discord channels of the Ape Society. Special thanks! We would like to express a huge thank you to all the apes who have joined Doork East for their support, time, ideas, contributions and passion that made this magazine possible. Our community is our treasure.